Cyberpunk 2077 is about to have its third anniversary, and the game has changed tremendously since its dumpster fire launch in 2020. CDPR has patched Cyberpunk numerous times since then and introduced a ton of different changes into the game. And for players like myself, who've been playing Cyberpunk since day one, there are a lot of things, both good and bad, that just ain't the way they used to be. In this video, we're going to explore 10 things that only day one Cyberpunk players will remember. This won't merely be a documentation of all the game-breaking bugs, but massive reworks to gameplay and story content as well. So buckle up, grab some iced coffee, and let's dive into the world of Night City as it used to be in 2020 and 2021. Hey guys, I'd like to talk to you about this game that I've been diving into that's packed with tons of content. Dive into this free-to-play fantasy RPG adventure with a captivating storyline and online PvP. Raid is currently giving away a ton of free rewards, and you can get in on the action right now. Raid Shadow Legends is available on PC, Android, and iOS. Click on the link in the description or scan my QR code to download the game and get some amazing champions for free today. You must click my link in the description to receive Lightsworn, an epic champion from the Sacred Order. Lightsworn will keep your team alive with his increased defense and revive on death skills. And once you reach level 15, you'll also get Juliana, an epic champion and straight-up boss killer from the Sacred Order. But wait, there's more. Raid is offering an additional champion to new players, providing a significant advantage at the start of the game. You can get a massive head start with the Monkey King Sun Wukong, a free legendary attack champion. This guy can hard carry your team as a main DPS, and you can pick him up for free by using promo code Monkey King. And if you prefer a different champion, you can choose to use one of these codes instead. Simply use one of these promo codes within the initial 72 hours of registration. Returning players can use the code ILOVERAID to receive the free rare champion preserver as well as useful in-game loot. To activate promo codes, navigate to the left side of the screen and select the promo codes option. Enter your promo code in the provided field and click confirm, and you can collect your rewards from your inbox. I've never seen Raid give out so many powerful free champions in a single promo. Click my link in the description or scan the QR code now to start playing today. Number 1. The Crowbcat video. Cyberpunk 2077's game-breaking bugs and missing gameplay features from the December 2020 release are incredibly well documented, and perhaps the best or most well-known video is a compilation released by Crowbcat shortly after launch. Overpromise, sell, underdeliver racked up millions of views, pairing up pre-release marketing statements from CDPR and content creators with visual representations of the game's busted state.
Check this out.
I still like to go back and revisit this classic from time to time to have a laugh and remind myself how far the game has come in the last 3 years. Number 2. The original Mr. Hands. Pacifica's #1 fixer received an expanded role in the Phantom Liberty expansion and 2.0 update. We originally never had the chance to meet Hands in the base game, as we were only resigned to phone calls with his face obscured in the shadows of the flickering hollow. But if you played Cyberpunk before the 2.0 update, you will certainly have noticed that Mr. Hands got a big overhaul, as CDPR replaced the voice actor and changed the overall look of Hands' character model. These changes weren't just resigned to the DLC, however, as CDPR re-recorded Hands' voice lines from the base game as well for continuity's sake. Let's see how much Hands has changed.
V in Dogtown. My. Yet again with my favorite merc this side of the Sierra Nevadas.
Ah! Now that sounded like my third wife every time she wanted a new purse. Truly? Want to sell something to the VDBs? Trust me, they don't want it, they don't need it. They're isolated, insulated, they got their own contracts, tech, networks. But have it your way.
It is unclear why CDPR decided to switch out the voice actor for this character. Perhaps the original VA was unavailable, or perhaps it was a creative decision. As of yet, the studio hasn't made any official comments on the decision to change Mr. Hands. Maybe I'm just resistant to change, but I kinda missed OG Mr. Hands. He had a distinct personality to his voice that I prefer to the 2.0 version. Number 3. River's awkward family photo. Many people know about the massive changes to combat and skills that were introduced in Cyberpunk's 2.0 update, but CDPR also made some stealthy changes to other content in the game that wasn't specifically called out in the patch notes. One of these changes involved a particularly awkward family photo we receive in a text message from River. Sometime after completing River's personal quest, The Hunt, we would receive a photo message from River visiting Randy in the hospital, assuming he was saved from Edgewood Farm. And this photo became a bit of a meme in the Cyberpunk community, owing to the awkward and stilted poses of the characters and the oddly realistic-looking teddy bear in the foreground of the frame. The image kind of reminds me of Tally's original photo in Mass Effect 3, which was basically a stock photo that BioWare photoshopped to look like a Quarian. Well, now CDPR has revamped this photograph and replaced it with a less awkward composition in the 2.0 update. Here is a side-by-side comparison of the two images. While I like what they've done with the new photo, I must admit I kind of miss the original. I always got a big laugh anytime I saw it, so I'm kind of sad it's been replaced. But never fear, the awkward Ward family photo will always live on in the memes. Number 4. Glitched out elevator during the heist. One particularly funny bug from the launch version of Cyberpunk 2077 happened during the heist. As Jackie and V fight their way through Arasaka goons to escape the hotel, there was one section where you need to grab an elevator access key from an elite soldier. In the release version of the game, this soldier would make his entrance through an elevator, but he would kinda just glitch out and get stuck in the elevator instead of fighting you. So in order to progress, you just have to pump a bunch of bullets into the elevator, hoping you'd hit the soldier while he was glitching in and out of the screen. What was supposed to be a slightly more challenging fight ended up getting turned into a complete joke, which added more fuel to the Cyberpunk bad fire. Thankfully, this bug was resolved in one of the earliest patches, so players no longer have to worry about the glitchy elite blocking progress during the heist. Number 5. No Transmog. Cyberpunk's problems at release weren't just the result of bugs, but missing quality of life gameplay features and mechanics as well. One thing that many players were asking for was Transmog for armor and outfits. At release, players would end up cobbling together the most ridiculous hodgepodge outfits in order to min-max their stats. But CDPR would eventually rectify this by adding in preset outfits during the Edgerunners update last fall, nearly 2 years after the game's initial release. Now players can simply go to V's apartment and create preset outfits that will override whatever you are wearing. CDPR would further overhaul clothing by removing armor stats in the 2.0 update. Now players gain armor mostly from cyberware, which makes clothing mostly aesthetic, although some pieces still have passive stat bonuses. With this change and the outfit presets, players should never have to sacrifice style for substance, unless of course they want to. Number 6. Crafting overhaul. Back in my day, we had to craft items one at a time in Cyberpunk 2077. Kids these days don't know how easy they got it. Yeah, that basically sums it up. There was no option for batch crafting items in the release version of the game. I feel like this was a massive oversight that just displayed how undercooked Cyberpunk was at launch, but they would thankfully add it in during a later patch. Number 7. Auto-answering phone calls. One of the most annoying things about Cyberpunk at release is that you couldn't reject phone calls. And you get a lot of phone calls in this game. Calls from fixers, your companions, and main story NPCs would constantly pop up wherever you were in the world. And sometimes these calls would interrupt or layer over important story moments. I distinctly remember getting some random phone call while my half-dying character dragged herself through the Pistis Sophia Hotel, interrupting some of the important character dialogue with Johnny during this section.
Couldn't just leave you there, could I? Spoke with her. Not in person, but we spoke. You know who I'm talking about.
She contacted me too.
The only thing that would ever interrupt these phone calls was if you got into combat. In that case, V would say a canned line like, "Hey, a little busy right now," and then hang up so that you could fight off the enemies, only to immediately resume the call right after they were all dead. CDPR would eventually add in the option to reject phone calls. In this case, it will either leave a notification to call them back for important story quests, or otherwise you'll just get a follow-up text from the character in the case of most side quests. As someone who never answers phone calls IRL, I feel seen by this update. Number 8. Jotaro Shobu's quest changes. Now, I'm not 100% sure if this one is a legitimate change or just a bug, but I wanted to include it nonetheless. But let me back up a minute and explain. One side gig that we received from Regina Jones involves taking out a shady Tiger Claw crime lord named Jotaro Shobo in Watson. There were two potential objectives for this quest. You could either kill Jotaro, which would end the quest, or if you were looking to go the extra mile, you could incapacitate him. And then you would have to somehow sneak his knocked out body out of the club and put him in the trunk of a car. This objective was super annoying because while you could stealthily sneak into the club through the balcony, there wasn't really a way to sneak him out without alerting all the guards. You couldn't dump his body over the railing, so you'd have to just take him down the stairs through the building. This basically made a full stealth run of the mission impossible unless you snuck through and knocked out every single NPC before bringing Jotaro out of the building. But as of the 2.0 update, this quest just ends whether you KO or kill him. You no longer have to bring his body out of the building. However, it's still unclear if this is a legit intentional change or if the quest is bugged. Some players reported they still got the objective to bring him to the car, but if those players are on old gen consoles, then they wouldn't have the 2.0 update. So I don't know if this is the real deal here. I was able to complete the quest without hauling his body out, even when Jotaro was just knocked out. So, I don't know, man. Number 9. Awful driving mechanics. In 2020, there were a lot more hit and runs and vehicular crimes in Night City owing to the wonky driving mechanics at release. I don't know if it was just the steering sensitivity or physics engine, but something about Cyberpunk cars were just difficult to handle. CDPR would spend a lot of time revamping and tuning the driving mechanics, and now cars are much easier to handle and drive throughout the city. I still end up clipping the odd civilian here and there, but it's definitely a huge improvement to the original version. Number 10. Rip Cold Blood. Most of the changes to the skill system added in the 2.0 update were welcomed by players, but one change that irked some of us was the removal of the Cold Blood perk from the Cool Tree. Basically, what Cold Blood did was provide a buff to movement speed whenever you performed a takedown. This effect could stack, and when you invested in associated buffs like Merciless and Defensive Clothing, you could essentially buff all your damage and armor while Cold Blood was active. It was incredibly fun, but really imbalanced, so I suspect that is why it's no longer in the game. Now you can obtain similar buffs to damage, armor, movement speed, etc. with some of the new perks, but they all work separately and don't stack onto this Cold Blood mechanic in the same way anymore. So rip Cold Blood. You are gone, but not forgotten. So there you have it. 10 things only day one Cyberpunk players will remember. Are there any changes or things that I missed from the original release or old patches? Let me know in the comments below. If you liked this video, be sure to subscribe to Big Dan Gaming for more Cyberpunk and RPG videos. Big shout out to all the channel members for supporting my content. Until next time, this has been Big Dan. I should go.